My name is Amy Brinkley, and I am a certified addiction peer recovery coach and certified recovery specialist with the National Association of State Mental Health Program Directors. And I am here today with my colleague, my esteemed colleague, Lisa Ragan.
Hey, everybody. I'm happy to be here. I'm the Director of Consumer Affairs and Peer Recovery Services for the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. I'm actually a peer myself. I live a life of wellness, recovery, and resiliency from complex PTSD. And these days I am focused on post-traumatic growth. Happy to be here.
So glad that you're here too, Lisa. So today we're going to be discussing the benefits of peer supervision and talking about strategies for how to get the most from your supervisor as a peer specialist. So Lisa, why don't we kick off with you? So do you want to just share a little bit of advice that you would give to a peer specialist on how to maximize their relationship with their supervisor?
Sure, thank you. And I think I would actually start with that phrase, maximizing your relationship with your supervisor as a peer specialist, in part because when I first came into this field, that concept would have been completely new to me. I always thought meeting with my supervisor was going to be about, more like a performance review every time, and that I was being judged and critiqued. And you can actually see it both ways. The supervisor also has a really significant role that will benefit me and can even protect me as a peer specialist. Actually, many years ago when I first got into this field, I did have an unfortunate experience early in my career. I had a supervisor who was a licensed clinician, primarily a therapist. And for our supervision sessions, she was basically doing psychoanalysis on me, all in my business. And, because I was so new, I didn't realize that wasn't okay. I just kind of went along with it. It was years later that I was like, wait a minute, we needed to have better boundaries in those sessions. And so I think it's really important that you know that you have the right to set boundaries. And especially if you have like a clinical supervisor who might be new to peer support, you might even find yourself helping them understand the appropriate boundaries, like how your commitment to your own wellness journey, your recovery is really your business. And the supervisor needs to focus on your performance at the job. So the talking with your supervisor is focused on the job and not on your own recovery, really more like how you perform on the job. And ideally, the supervisor of a peer specialist in many ways is going to treat them just like any other staff member, especially in terms of respecting a person's privacy and keeping the focus on the job. What are your thoughts, Amy?
You're so spot on, Lisa. We've had similar experiences, and it's just unfortunate that I was reflecting back on my own, and it actually happened further into my career where I had one specific supervisor where supervision became more of a therapy session, and it's like, I had enough experience by that time to recognize that this isn't necessarily supervision, but when it's your supervisor, it was a little bit awkward. And so, some advice that I would have for somebody that recognizes that they're in a supervision that isn't necessarily a supervision, what worked for me was finding other sources to kind of fill that space. So finding other sources of support within the office that I was working in really helped me get the guidance, the feedback, and the support that I wasn't necessarily getting from my supervisor because of, reasons outside of my control as the employee.
Absolutely. I like how you were able to reach out for the support you needed, and that can really be powerful too, to find those peer support champions who, can give you that support.
Can you share a little bit with us about a positive experience that you've had with a supervisor?
Sure, absolutely. And I'm still kind of going back to when I was pretty new. Sometimes in this work we do, you might be confronted with a intense situation. And what you can do is go to your supervisor, help share with them what's going on, kind of develop a plan together on how you're going to approach it, maybe how you're going to approach this peer in your work with them. And you can document that. Like there's a log where you met with your supervisor, this was what we discussed, and you got that filed away. And then, if there's like a worst case scenario and things go awry, and then the agency needs to kind of investigate that and look into it, what happened, what could have been done differently. You and your supervisor are in a really good place to be able to explain your process and that you had that documentation, and it really serves to protect you, which is not something I would have realized, when I was just coming into this field, but I think it's really important.
Such great advice. One of the thoughts that I was thinking about as you were sharing, Lisa, is the ability to actively engage in supervision wasn't something that I knew right off the bat going in. When I was first a peer, I didn't necessarily know, just like you were talking about earlier, what my role was in the supervision. It was very much like I thought it was some sort of an evaluation, right? And I didn't really fully understand immediately that this person is actually here to support me, and that I should come to these meetings prepared to discuss challenges in my role, challenging clients perhaps, and use this person's expertise to really navigate how I could provide the best possible peer support services that I could. And that wasn't necessarily something that I knew going into supervision. So such a great point. Engaging in our own supervision would be a solid recommendation I would have.
That's a good word. And that reminds me of, in peer support, we place so much value on relationship. Peer specialists are often really, really gifted in establishing relationships with people in need of care. Sometimes they can connect with people that other staff maybe haven't been able to. And I think that emphasis on relationship can be taken to the supervisor, peer specialist role as well. If you can have a solid, trusting relationship, then it really can support you in your work, I think.
So many great points, Lisa. You've shared so many good things for peers to be thinking about as it relates to supervision. And I can't thank you enough. So as we prepare to close out our session here today, I'm going to throw it back to you to share some closing comments and thoughts that you would like to share with peers, specifically new peers, as it relates to supervision. Any last comments?
Sure. Actually, as we were talking, I found myself thinking about a little bit of my own wellness journey, my own recovery. And I know that a lot of us peer specialists maybe in the past have had trouble asking for help. Perhaps our childhood experiences, asking for help was not a positive experience. And then, we got into wellness and recovery, and we know how important it is now. And then working as a peer specialist, it's still really important. You've got to remember to ask for help from your supervisor. I just read something the other day about burnout. And one of the symptoms was that you kind of stop asking for help. You stop seeking supervision. And I thought that is so important for us as peer specialists to just remember to ask for help and reach out.
Lisa, I couldn't have said it better myself. I concur. So Lisa, it was so great talking with you today about maximizing supervisor relationships. And for anyone watching this video, I hope this helps you find support for yourself as a peer specialist or understand how we can best support peers in their most important work. If you need more resources around peer support, please visit smhiadvisor.org. You can find free education, hundreds of free resources, and a consultation service that lets you submit questions and get answers from national experts. Thank you for joining us today.